down. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody joining us today. I want to thank you so much for joining today's presentation, which has to do with Arcserve's predictions for 2017. My name is Mary Owen, and I'm going to be your host today, helping out Christophe Bertrand, who is our speaker. Christophe is the VP of Product Marketing here at Arcserve, and he's got a great presentation ready for you guys. So as this is going, we want to hear your questions. So just send them to us using the question section of your interface, and we'll get to those, as many of them as we can at the end of the event. Today's session is being recorded, so I will send out that recording to your email in a couple of hours, and you'll need to keep an eye out for that in case you want to share it or watch it again. With all of that out of the way, take it away, Christophe.
Thank you, Mary. Hello, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here, and Happy New Year. It's 2017. It's time to make a number of good resolutions. And in order to help you out, I have some predictions. I looked in my crystal ball, and I saw the future. So there is one thing I can tell you about the future. There is no statistic about the future. Actually, I didn't come up with that. Someone much smarter than me did. But there's only one thing we know. There's going to be more data. More data-related challenges are going to come up, and that's why it's pretty much a certainty that something is going to have to happen as you look at your data protection and disaster recovery infrastructure. I'm going to highlight some of the trends that I see and some of the predictions that I'm making in this context. So let me talk about Arcserve real quick. For those of you who don't know us, we have been in business for a long time under different ownerships, and we've become independent again on August 1st, 2014. So we're literally this overnight startup that has been very successful with our flagship product called Arcserve Unified Data Protection, Arcserve UDP. We have many customers around the world. We're a global business. It gives us this unique perspective because we're also 100% focused on channel partners, where we really understand what the requirements are to be successful for our end users as well as for our partners who help us build the solutions that we take to market. We have won many awards, as you can see on this slide, and that's with Arcserve UDP. We certainly have a lot of pride in our technology. And again, it's based on feedback we've received from you, from our customers, our end users, and of course looking at the industry and the very important trends that we see affecting or changing the nature of disaster recovery, backup, and anything around data protection. So again, many customers for Arcserve UDP, which is a product that we launched 2.5 years, almost 3 years ago. Very successful product, as you can see by the number of customers, and that number is probably a bit low here. It's probably close to 25,000 customers now, and that's only in 2.5, not even 3 years. Very few companies have achieved this type of success. We're proud to be independent. We have a great partner with Marlin Equity Partners as our backer, and we're also looking to keep delivering great technology as we move forward. Stay tuned. There will be some updates and some news in the next few weeks, and certainly we're looking at introducing new capabilities. So now let's talk about some of the predictions here that I believe you've been interested in because you're joining this webcast. So first of all, I'm going to cover the topic of ransomware and how data protection actually this year will help you really take care of this issue. Now, obviously, there's a lot more that meets the eye, so we'll cover that in a minute. We'll talk about the fact that data protection is going to keep consolidating in terms of the infrastructure, the technologies, and really the various approaches that are necessary to really ensure that backup data actually is useful for recovery. So this concept of this notion of consolidation is not new. Certainly, it's something that's been going on for many years, and it keeps accelerating. And I do believe, I'm convinced that in 2017, this is going to keep accelerating. We'll talk about the fact that disaster recovery and maybe because of ransomware, maybe because of this consolidation, is going to become even more visible in 2017. It's been talked about a lot, but the reality is that it has become very visible to many business leaders, not necessarily IT folks, and by definition, it changes the conversation very quickly. When the big guys look at this and say, hey, what's our disaster recovery plan exactly? What can we really do if something happens? Again, I think some of these predictions are intertwined, so don't be surprised if I mention ransomware in this context as well. As we look at what this will mean for our customers in 2017 based on these trends, I believe there will be a number of initiatives around risk mitigation, and I'll talk about what that means, as well as a very close look at how there's quite a bit going on around interdependent systems and applications, and how that clearly influences your ability to protect and to recover applications, systems in a timely fashion and with the level of data protection and recovery point objectives that your business requires. So these are the predictions, 5 of them. So let's get started. And again, as Mary indicated, we have a questions tab that you can use. So if you have questions, go ahead, and at the end of the presentation, I'll take a look and answer some of them. So let's talk about ransomware. There is quite a bit going on in ransomware. Actually, there was just an article that came out recently about it that was covered, the big article in NBC News. So when you look at what's happened in the past year or so, there has been a report or survey that was conducted in the UK. I found it interesting because what it says is that essentially almost half of the businesses have been infected by ransomware, and that's just in the UK, and that's in the past couple of years. We have talked to many partners and end users around the world, and we see similar trends. It's only accelerating. The cost of these attacks is only going up. As a matter of fact, compounded, all combined, I believe the article yesterday from NBC News was mentioning something like $1 billion just for this year. So it is going to accelerate. It is a criminal endeavor, and it's something that clearly is working, and it's time to stop it. So there are a couple of things that you need to do here, and where I think data protection and recovery is going to be very critical for you in 2017. Number one, ransomware is not going to stop. It's going to keep happening. It's going to take different new shapes, and whatever you do around threat protection, threat detection is very key. That's the security piece of it. You can't catch it all. We work with a number of partners in the space of security, and they all agree. There's only so much you can do. Something may happen, and again, remember, these are criminal endeavors. There may be other sources than just users clicking on the wrong link. So the net is, whatever happens, when malware hits, your systems are at risk, your data becomes unavailable or gets corrupted or deleted. And the only way to get that back is to have a backup. Actually, that's what the article that I'm mentioning talked about yesterday. Well, easier said than done. A backup is great, but what really matters is the ability to recover the data, the systems, maybe even do what we call a bare metal recovery, where you recover a full system, full hardware, even dissimilar hardware as needed, OS, applications, data, etc. So in some cases, that's the only way to get your data back and not pay the ransom. By the way, when you pay the ransom, you don't always get your data back anyway, or access to it. So something to remember. We have many customers who have been successful in the past year with our solution doing so, and we believe that the issue of ransomware is actually a great theme out of something bad. Something good can happen. It's a great theme to bring up as you have budget discussions, as you look at improving your infrastructure, because it is a disaster recovery type of issue. It is not just a security issue. Fundamentally, when it gets through, you are in a disaster recovery mode. You are essentially in charge of recovering data and systems that have actually been corrupted or lost. So I will just say one thing, is that when you look at this closely and then really visit or revisit your recovery point objectives and recovery time objectives, what it does is it really allows you to create a very robust plan that will protect your critical applications with the type of recovery point objectives that are needed for the business. So in other words, you don't want to lose too much data should something happen, and also give you the type of certainty or the certainty that you can get your data back, your systems back in a timely fashion. We've seen customers who have taken hours to get their data back and their systems back because it's hard to, first of all, clean up the malware, but then you have to do the recovery. So the point I'm making is this. If you have a robust and well-planned, well-thought-out backup and recovery solution in place that really focuses on the recovery piece of it and the many ways you can recover data, when ransomware hits and succeeds, you will be able to get back on your feet. And you will be able to get back on your feet in a timely fashion with minimal risk or exposure to your business. Okay, so let's talk about the other prediction, which is the consolidation of data protection is going to keep happening. And the reason why it's been going on, and it's been going on for many years, and every year it keeps getting more and more pronounced, is the fact that if you look at your infrastructure, we focus here at Arcserve on the mid-market. So we have a number of companies that have, because of their size, developed an infrastructure that has evolved so that you end up with multiple vendors. Which, you know, for application A, there may be this backup package, and for application B, there's some sort of utility, and then maybe you have another solution for everything else. There are many ways to protect an infrastructure, but one thing that has become very evident is that a siloed approach when it comes to the protection of data results in incoherence when it comes to recovery, simply because you have to have a very well-aligned set of processes to recover systems and data in a way that's going to be consistent at a consistent point in time, also in a fashion or in a way that is going to be consistent in terms of how long it takes you to recover the actual data or systems, including, as I said, recovering systems that may have become totally unavailable or totally destroyed, either for physical reasons or because of ransomware. So the point I'm making is that having too many solutions and not having a consolidated view, processes, and platform ultimately creates a bunch of costs, creates exposures in terms of recovery point objectives and recovery time objectives with poor control, which is not something you want, and ultimately creates a number of limitations to your ability as an IT professional to evolve with a business and to really deliver on your mission, which is going to be that of providing a service level. And of course, disaster recovery is one of them. So what we're looking at here is the fact that consolidation is going to continue, which means you're going to have to look at all of the various ways you protect applications and data and consolidate and ideally pick one or two ways of doing it. Of course, every application and every environment is different. So what we're proposing is a very different view, which is rather than having multiple solutions, multiple processes, unify, which is what we do with our solution. And we've seen that our customers in the past few years have been very successful doing so. We do, with our solution, a great job with virtual environments. We won all of the awards last year, or well, it was 2 years ago now, because we were in 2017 at VMworld. You know, we're recognized as the leading solution in terms of feature functions for the mid-market. We also do great with cloud environments. The point I'm making is you have many options, and that gives you the certainty that you can now consolidate with one solution that's going to be focused on service levels, that's going to be focused on, and very much like an SLA dial. That's what we really do. And it's also going to give you the ability, which is another very important point, to quickly deploy and add protection to new systems with a guarantee that it's going to work, that it's going to get protected, and also with a number of additional features that allow you, once you consolidate, it becomes a lot easier to test your disaster recovery plan. One of the things that people forget very often is when you have too much disparity in the data protection infrastructure, it becomes very hard to do a full disaster recovery test because you're going to potentially hurt something in production. You don't want to do that. With a unified view, a unified approach, what you can do is automate disaster recovery testing, leveraging, for example, virtual machines that take the last backup just to test, just to see how long it takes you to get back on your feet, just to understand your processes. A lot of what happens in disaster recovery is not just the systems or the machines or the data or the backup, it's the people and understanding what to do and when. Also, a consolidated data protection approach allows you to start working off of KPIs. So those performance indicators are very, very critical as you look at your infrastructure. They may also have consequence in terms of compliance, whether you have internal processes or whether you're looking at external compliance as well. Maybe for partners in your business, maybe for suppliers or customers. So all of this comes into play. I believe in 2017, more consolidation of data protection is going to happen, and certainly cloud will have a strong role to play in that as well. So with this in mind, one of the key areas I think that in my predictions is that I think we've talked about backup for many years, and frankly, backup is utterly boring. It doesn't do anything for me. What matters if I'm a business guy, what matters if I'm an IT guy, is that I can recover from a disaster, whatever the source, whatever the reason. As I said, ransomware is very likely going to be a key acceleration or a key factor accelerating the theme of disaster recovery this year. But I do believe in and of itself, it has become very ripe for becoming a more common theme across many organizations, including business leaders. So really what we're doing here, what I'm saying is I think we're at the point where we're past the notion of backup. Now we're really talking about recovery. And the minute you start looking at that, you realize that it's really not about just recovery. It's really about building in the infrastructure a way to be more resilient, because you can't afford to have applications go down or go down for a long period of time, whatever the reason. So quickly you see that it's not just backup, it's recovery, but it's also building that as a best practice, but also as something that is closer to resilience. So any opportunity, any change you make in the infrastructure creates two things. It creates a risk, because you don't know what's going to happen. Potentially, you're adding some level of uncertainty, but it also creates an opportunity to improve the overall infrastructure. So as you look at deploying new servers and virtual machines, new applications, what are you doing to make those redundant? What are you doing to make sure your recovery point objectives, your recovery time objectives are consistent with the purpose of the application in the first place? All I'm saying here is that this is about the business. It's about business resilience, and the unsexy world of backup, I think, is becoming a lot more attractive now that we're talking about disaster recovery, especially with the emergence of the malware situation we talked about. The other point I want to make is it's not just about doing this if you're a very large enterprise. The very large enterprises, the big guys, as I call them here, they've done that for many years, and they do it very, very well, and it's very expensive, and it's actually very complex. I think the key will be to do so in a way that optimizes your costs and your return on investment and gives you choice. The most important piece of setting up a disaster recovery infrastructure is you want to be able to make it evolve quickly, and you want to be able to evolve it with your infrastructure, right? In other words, you may, as a mid-market business, for example, make an acquisition, or you may expand your business in a new geography. There may be different requirements there, but at a minimum, you want to be able to quickly react to that and have a solution that's going to protect the data and be deployed very quickly, very easily, yet provide those very advanced capabilities, such as what you have in the enterprise. And the reason why that's the case is that when you think about it very closely, everybody has very stringent recovery point objectives and recovery time objectives today. Most organizations can't afford to have data unavailable for a long period of time. A few hours probably is the most you're going to see. The world has changed. And if you're doing any sort of online commerce, any trading, any sort of service that requires, works with a web infrastructure and some back-end application that's going to do data processing for you or be a transactional type of environment. And of course, I'm not even mentioning email. Well, guess what? You have no time for downtime. The minute that email application stops working, you start getting calls. So let's talk about what you can do should anything come up. Let's take 2017 as the year where you can take that message of disaster recovery is what we're doing here. We're not doing backup. We're about the recovery. We're about improving the resilience of the business. Finally, as I mentioned here on this slide, I see the role of cloud as one of the components that will help you do that better. I'm not saying everything has to go to cloud. I'm saying it's part of the equation, even more so because a number of new technologies are available. And there are many things that can be done leveraging public cloud infrastructures as well as private cloud infrastructures or specialty cloud for disaster recovery as a service, for example. So the service component that cloud allows within some parameters, obviously, is important for disaster recovery. It is actually a great tool. Not the only tool, but something to consider. So 2017 is really going to be about three things. The money you spend on disaster recovery, and more importantly, the money you save by having great disaster recovery. The choices you make in terms of unifying your infrastructure, where the data resides, and of course, the leverage, the optimal leverage here is going to be how you use cloud and how that becomes part of your hybrid infrastructure if it's not part of it already. All of this is a big equation. You have to be able to be flexible because it will change over time, and whatever solution, whatever infrastructure you build or revisit has to give you the ability to evolve quickly. The other thing is mitigating risk, and it's kind of a corollary to what I was talking about with disaster recovery. Ultimately, the conversation that needs to happen to build great disaster recovery is one around risk. Now, there are many views about that. Some people like to talk about business impact and do a business impact analysis. Others focus on risk mitigation and operational risk management, which is great. All of these are big words and big terms, but at the end of the day, think about it this way. If you don't understand your risk, then it's hard to protect against the unknown because it's unknown. And it turns out you can actually know a lot about your risk by looking closely. So there are some obvious things, you know, your facilities, where you're located geographically, etc. But look at ransomware. It's an equal opportunity offender. It can happen to anyone at any point. How do you protect against that? So understanding your risk and understanding what may fail is not perfect, but it's a start. How it impacts your business or could impact your business is important. Why? I think everybody understands that a critical application for the business has to be running on the best hardware or virtual machines, have the best protection, and really be protected from a security standpoint, et cetera. It's pretty obvious. At the same time, it's something that applies across everything else in the organization. Why? Because of what I'll talk about in a minute, which is the interdependency of systems. The point I'm making is different applications have different risk profiles. Different parts of your organization or your infrastructure have different risk profiles, and you have to understand that so that you can actually take a view at it and understand the probability of something happening and understand the cost. Okay? Essentially, if you multiply the probability of something happening by its average cost, it gives you an annual loss expectancy. And what I'm talking about sounds like insurance. That's what I call the actuarial view of disaster recovery. And it is one of the tools or one of the ways to put mathematics around what we're doing with backup and recovery and disaster recovery. If you were to insure your infrastructure against and pay premium, well, what is the risk and what is the cost, therefore, and how should I base my premium based on that? So this is what this is about. So having that discipline of looking at how you can mitigate risk is very important. the opportunities that you have this year, and I think it's going to be a very important year for risk mitigation, is really to improve the availability of your infrastructure and to inject more disaster recovery services, whether you do them yourself, whether you use a partner to do this, or a public cloud infrastructure, and certainly leveraging the cloud is one of the components as well, in general terms, that I think allows you to mitigate risk. Some people say, hang on, stuff going to the cloud, isn't that risky? Isn't there a security issue? Where's your stuff? How do you know it's okay? Well, there are many, many safeguards that come into play here. And it turns out that if, from a business standpoint, you can get your data back in a timely fashion, if, from a business standpoint, you're able to deliver on that service level, should anything come up with infrastructure, you've mitigated your business risk. That's money. By the way, this risk mitigation conversation is a great one to have with a CFO or with a more financially inclined leader of your business, because everybody can relate to that. And again, it can be quantified. Again, business impact analysis, great. Risk assessments, great. There are tools. This is the year to really bring that to the forefront, and I believe that it's going to change the nature of the conversation. What we're doing here at Arcserve, and you'll see that very soon, is we're going to give you more tools. We're going to give you more tools to help measure your recovery point objectives, your recovery time objectives, and a bunch of metrics that participate in that understanding of your risk, and the proof point that you have indeed mitigated your exposures as you test your disaster recovery plan. So there are many things we'll do to help you in 2017 around mitigation of risk. My final prediction is that 2017 will be the year where you really take a very hard look at system interdependency. It's actually why backup and recovery has been only successful in some cases, because of partially successful, because think about it. You have many systems and applications that live in a big ecosystem that is your infrastructure. And the larger your business becomes, or the more distributed your business becomes, the more complexity you've added. But as a matter of fact, you've also added interdependency. So what's the point of having that nice transactional application? Pick your database of choice, pick your application of choice, having it redundant, protected, with failover, clustered, everything. Okay, you do all of that. That's wonderful. But what if the feeder systems, like an EDI system, for example, what if the applications that feed the transactions actually are not protected correctly and fail? Essentially, you have the lowest common denominator here going on, and there's a domino effect. So what I would like to say here is that understanding your weakest link and protecting I would say this workflow of this ecosystem of applications and associated data, obviously, in a way that's going to be consistent from a service level perspective is going to be very key. This is, by the way, the only way you successfully provide for actual successful disaster recovery, because it also allows you to then understand what applications to bring back first, what applications to bring back in a degraded mode, what type of performance can you actually withstand as a business in a degraded mode if you don't have the right type of compute available, or maybe it's only because you're using certain type of services in a disaster recovery situation where you're going to consciously make a decision. It sounds very complex. It sounds like a lot of decisions to make, but fundamentally, it's about mapping what applications depend on what. And you will see, as you look at your data protection policies, they have to map just the same way. The good news is that with the technology that is afforded to you by our technology, UDP, we can help you solve that issue in terms of recovery point objective, recovery time objective. So as your interdependent applications are identified, we can go protect them in a way that will be consistent with your business requirement and with your IT requirement. And more importantly, we will be able to give you options when it comes to recovery. Again, I think this is a great year to reboot your approach in general terms for data protection and backup, for disaster recovery. This is the year to really look at it closely, because ransomware is going to hit. It's going to hit again. It's going to hit hard. But the good news is that you have many, many conversations you can now have around risk mitigation, around disaster recovery. I think the business side of the equation is ready to listen and ready to invest, and we certainly want to help you with that. So that's what I had as far as my predictions. I'm sure there are many other predictions out there, but these were the ones that I thought would apply best to disaster recovery. So Mary, I'll turn it over to you, and we'll probably take a look at a couple of questions.
Awesome. Yeah, we are just hitting the end of our presentation here because this is a fast cast. It was scheduled for 30 minutes. We do have one question from Christopher who's asking about case studies having to do with ransomware. And we do have a presentation specifically on ransomware where we go over some case studies, and I can send that to you after this event. We're also going to have another event coming up in a couple of weeks where we are going to go through some additional ransomware case studies. So keep an eye on your email for an invitation to that. I think with that, we've reached the end of our presentation here. So I'm going to go ahead and close it if you don't have any other comments, Christophe.
No, thank you very much, Mary, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Awesome. So thank you again, Christophe, for that great presentation. I'm going to be sending out a recording of this later today. And if anyone has additional questions or would like to see a demo or learn more about our product, feel free to check us out at arcserve.com. Our phone number is listed on the website. You can start a chat, download a trial, anything you're looking for is out there. So thanks, everybody, for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.